Good morning, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of 10 at 10, where we share great business and life information to help business owners move forward. I'm excited today to have Jonathan Katz here with me because it's everyone's favorite topic, getting paid faster, and the hows and going up, as deeply as we possibly can in 15 minutes. Jonathan, thanks for being on today. Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good afternoon here in New York. It's an overcast day, but I'm looking forward to voting later today.
Oh, nice.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, definitely. I know this is a topic that a lot of people were asking about. So, okay, Jonathan and I have been threatening to do something for a long time. So, let's do this today.
Let's do it.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I'd love to, let my guests know instead of me telling them. I'd like to hear a little bit from you as well.
I started a credit card processing company 14 years ago in New York, and happy to be in New York. Lived in San Francisco for 4 years, kept my office in New York open, and worked remotely from the West Coast. We work with all kinds of businesses, all kinds of sizes to handle their payments for them, credit card payments, and then adding value to that. Before this, my background is really in psychology. So I have my
really?
MA. I have my
you merchant services.
Well, I can get into that in a second, but my background really is in psychology. I'm a MA and PhD in psychology. I left the field, went to Wall Street, which was really great. Was able to use some of the behavioral finance knowledge that I know and some research that I did in that niche. And that was really a lot of fun until the company started asking for all the wrong questions, all the wrong answers. The way most people would view financial products right now is usually pay a fixed fee and deter people from trading. And I don't think that was an attitude that was widely held when I was in that role. So it was a lot of butting heads. Yeah. Someone knew I had this sort of the entrepreneurial spirit years ago, asked me if I would want to go to a seminar, and I thought I would go, absolutely support the team. Yeah. And turns out she didn't even need me there. There were lots of people there. But someone spoke about my industry that I'm in now, credit card processing, and I thought I could do that, which at the time was very naive and very arrogant to think you could just walk into an industry. But it's 14 years later, and the learning curve, you do make it or you don't. And at this point, we're happy to say we've acquired a lot of information about it.
Well, isn't all entrepreneurs like that, though? We have the skill set. We're really excited about this one thing, and we're like, okay, something. After a while, you can only research it so much. After a while, you need to just jump in and do it and try it. And
I think
my fire a little bit,
I think a lot of things are a leap of faith. That's true. But usually people who open up a bakery know how to bake in advance. I understood the model of this, and I was able to research all the companies that were public in this space at the time, and there were fewer then than there are now, and sort of modeled the best I could and was able to get some good guidance along the way. And we've been fortunate enough to grow since then.
Nice. I love it. And so now you're bringing all this expertise to the show to have our discussion today. And of course, our discussion is getting paid faster. Just some tips and it's a general discussion. And guys, if there are any questions that you have, we'd love to hear them as well. But Jonathan, I'm going to throw it right over to you because I think there's a big misconception around merchant services and taking credit card payments. And of course, the restaurants are squarely in that arena. This is something that they must do and embrace. But of course, on the other side, the consulting side, the special events person, all of those other guys out there, is this something that they should be thinking of as well? I get it when you're in the retail space, it makes absolute sense. But what about the rest of us entrepreneurs? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my feeling is if you really don't need to take it and your clients are not asking if they can pay you by credit card, don't. There's no reason to add one more layer into your operations if you don't have to. Once you start getting a little bit of scale and you're consistently doing $3,000 or $4,000 in revenue a month, which is not a very high bar, but maybe it is when someone's just starting off and just doing their consulting. That's when you really have to start thinking, am I making it as easy as possible for my clients to pay me? Am I making it as easy as possible for my bookkeeper to track all of the income that I'm generating? Because at least if I take a credit card, I have all kinds of ways to track this.
Okay.
So that's what I would say. Typically, I would say most of our clients really start getting engaged in the process once they're doing $7,000, $8,000 a month. For certain retailers, even if they're doing less, there are things they can do to mitigate the cost of this, so that they can basically flip the fee from them paying the processing fees to the card holder either paying some or all of it.
Okay.
So that
That sounds really exciting. Can you dive into that a little bit? How is that typically structured? I mean, how?
Sure. So we really want to speak to the business owner and say, listen, here is what the cost is of taking a credit card. We can parse this any way that you want. You can eat all of it, and that's fine. And that's how most businesses operate. We can structure it so the card holder pays all of it, or split the number in advance. So we're not going to know what the dollar amount will be for any particular order that they do. If they're selling a $100 order one time and a $50 order the next, but we can say, listen, the cardholder is going to pay the first 1% and you pay the rest, or card will pay the first 2% and you pay the rest. However, we want to break it down, and that's a discussion we can have with them.
Nice.
For certain businesses, and I'll give this example because we just recently did it. We signed up a convenience store. Their average ticket is like $7.50, really small. Most people come in there, buy a pack of gum and leave, or a pack of cigarettes and leave. Something really small and meager.
Yeah.
But when the average ticket is low, credit card fees as a percent of that are pretty high. And for them, it was just really simple to say, anytime someone wants to use a credit card, they pay 30 cents. And that covers almost all of the fee schedule for them. So they were able to save nearly $4,000 a year by just flipping the fees. And their card holders, if you were told, it's going to cost you $7.10 to purchase your good with a credit card compared to $6.76, you might not care. And in fact, if a lot of people would just pay with cash anyway, but this will do just a huge difference to them. They don't have to pay this 30-cent fee every time. And because they do hundreds of these orders, 30 cents adds up pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's a wonderful saving. I mean, so that your margin's coming back to you,
Yeah. It doesn't, they're at a point where they really don't care if someone pays with a credit card or not. Before, they were thinking about instituting a policy. You have to spend more than $20 today with a credit card, but so few of their transactions are over 20 that they may be scaring their own clients away. Instead of going to them, they might go to the local CVS instead or something like that. And they really don't want to lose that business. Yeah. Again, most
like when I go to stores and they give a limit on like, okay, well, you have to do $10, let's say, before you can use your card. Sometimes actually because of that conversation, I end up not really buying sometimes as much as some people will just kind of find things to buy. For me personally, it's like, okay, it's all right. It's not a big deal. I have the cashier somewhere. I just wanted to keep my cash on me just in case and use what was in my bank account, And sometimes I feel like one, not taking credit cards or putting too much of a limitation on it, suddenly I'm not purchasing as much as I would have. I mean, is that the research out there? I mean,
I don't know if that's the research, but the other part of it is, once you see that there's a limit on using your credit card, you might be left with a bad taste in your mouth, so to speak, and decide next time I need to purchase, maybe I'm not even going to go in there because I don't know what the rules are. And again, they might lose the sale today, but they also might lose the sale tomorrow. Exactly. And that's pretty costly. You're trying to make the experience as frictionless as possible for your clients. You don't want anyone to have any issue about paying you right now. Why set up that kind of obstacle?
And actually, I love the comparison that you used, which was, well, next time, I mean, there's a CVS on the next corner. I'll just use them instead,
Yeah,
instead of a convenience store. And that's kind of a sad thought, but we know it's going to be frictionless, like you said, right?
right.
Okay. All right. What other tips do you have for us? Because I'm excited by that discount process that you can really have that great discussion with a small business owner.
We
Um,
have that discussion a lot. The other one we have is what kind of value are you getting? So obviously, if you take a credit card, there is the expense of taking the credit card. And granted, you can mitigate that through the cash discounting program. But that credit card also gives you a tremendous amount of information about your clients that you can use. It also gives you an ability to better track all of what goes on in your business. As an example that I give all the time, most POS systems can now track repeat clients versus new clients. And most businesses really want to get that new client in who becomes a repeat client. And if you're taking cash or you're not
Sorry,
using
as
a
the cleaners
POS,
are going by my place. Sorry about that.
I didn't hear it, but that's okay.
Oh, good, good.
So, but if you can really know what you can do in terms of making a new client into a repeat client, that's valuable information. Most of these things can be automated. And one example I often give, in particular to the restaurant industry, is we can look at an entire restaurant's menu, every item on that menu, and then graph it. When people order this item, how likely are they to come back in the next 3 or 4 or 5 months, something like that. And then you can say, anytime someone orders the guacamole, they're 20% more likely to come back than any other appetizer. Shouldn't we have our wait staff tell every single person who comes in, Paula, here's our menu. Can I start you with some guacamole before I take your drink order?
There you go.
Why not? That's the winner.
Wow.
Likewise, you can look at the menu and see the dishes that when they are ordered, people don't come back. And so you can make it easier in your kitchen by not carrying that item, or at least in that format. Scrap it from the menu because
Take it off altogether, right?
altogether, because anything you do will improve the likelihood, therefore, of someone coming back. So we can do that. For other businesses, not restaurants, as an example, just simple things like inventory management. All these POS systems really should be thought of as having your own personal MBA in a box. It is there to help you. It is there to help your bookkeeping and your accountant. It's there to help your payroll person. It's there to help whoever's doing all of your stocking. It'll track every single good in your store once it's in there, and will give you a little note, hey, we're running low on ABC. Time to order more of it. That's great. You don't have to go in the back and be blindsided by being short when someone wants 2 of it and you only have 1 left. It'll help with reaching out to your clients. If you have their email address, most of them now have CMRs built in, so you can send out newsletters through it. Most can be synced up with a gift card program, which I always say is manna from heaven for a business. People put $50 on a gift card, give it to someone. If it's spent, people usually spend more than is on the card because it feels free to them.
Yeah,
if it's not spent, you've collected $50 and you didn't have to give out any good at all. It's a win-win almost all the time. And again, it's nice having your brand on a card that you can give out to someone and share it.
This is all such new information. And I don't know if I've told you, but I used to have a store. We had 3 stores actually a while back, and I didn't know it about. I mean, I knew about gift cards. I mean, standard, but I mean, I guess the evolution of POS systems have happened pretty rapidly over the last couple of years. It's been 10 years now, but all of this is fantastic. I mean, I'm taking some notes out conversations with my clients as well. Is this a standard mode of business for?
It should be for businesses that have a physical location. I think most businesses are doing themselves a disservice if they don't have a POS system, because even though it may cost a little bit more upfront to have it, they're leaving money on the table. It just does so much more, so much faster, automates the process. It is a big time saver for you, but it also will give you all this information that should help you sell better, sell smarter, sell more efficiently, sell more profitably. And those are things that they just can't be beat. I almost, I'm not at the point where I would say I don't want to work with someone who's not using a POS, but I do question how efficient and how good and how profitable you are if you're not using one.
I do it. Let me ask you a question, because I heard you say, of course, upfront is going to be a little bit more, but are these added services, the CRM, the analytics, personalizing it for that experience, are these like added costs, or are these just functions on our POS systems that we're really just not even utilizing?
Depending upon the POS, more and more of them are becoming basic features. So their inventory, as an example, is probably included in every single POS out there. Different degrees of sophistication and scale. What would be sufficient for your clothing store that has one location would obviously not be sufficient to run Target's platform. But it doesn't take very much. And you had mentioned how much things have changed. Just think about what your cell phone did 10 years ago, because that's when you said you haven't
so
looked at.
Smaller. I was very impressed by it. I'd love to flip it open so people could see it,
Right. So the newer ones are so much more powerful than they were 10 years ago, just like the POS system. Some are much more sophisticated in terms of analytics than others. It is an arms race. There's constant iteration, constant growth, constant change. Things are improving, and things can get synced up nicely so that once you have more than one location, they can communicate together. If you're not in your store, you can check in remotely. Usually they're now cloud backed up so that if anything happens, you haven't lost anything.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I see Jason from the East Bay loving the cards. And Jason's actually a photographer, videographer, and he's in BNI. He's an active networker and giver as well. Thanks, Jason, for tuning in. It made me just think of a question, though. It's like, okay, definitely know this is very efficient for the retail end of things. But on the other end, on the consultant and the business to business folks, Christmas time is coming around right now. And this is a heavy discussion that I'm having with a lot of my owners about, they want to offer something as a little bit of a gift, a Starbucks card, maybe just a Visa card for doing X or signing up X clients or whatever. And Jason mentioned branding. So with the gift cards, do we have the ability to customize it with our logos and all of that? Is
Sure.
that a standard?
If it's your own business, you can customize it as much as you want. We have templates so that someone just doesn't want to pay for their own graphic designer to design their logo, put it on the right background. They can use any of our templates, and we'll fill in their name, their contact information, the business information on there. Those are pretty easy to do. And it's a very universal experience. Most people are very familiar with how gift cards now work compared to 15 years ago. You only saw them at the biggest stores. The Gap had them. But your local, clothing store, your local coffee shop or restaurant, they didn't have their own yet. Yeah. And now it's just so easy to do. There's almost no reason not to. It's a win-win-win all around the horn.
Yeah. Because, I got to say, I find that initially when I, as a consultant, you get checks, right? I mean, they send you a check, you pay them, they send you a check. But once, this is like 3 years ago, I'm like, wait a second, I need to start doing credit cards as well, just to, because some folks would ask for it, they want the mileage points, whatever. But I found that once I started doing that, the guys who were now on credit cards would just kind of at their desks, card, put the information in, boom, they're onto something else. I didn't have to wait for it to come through the mail, or anything like that. I'd also find that, if we had a discussion like, hey, we need to have a graphic artist redo XYZ for you. Can I tack that on? It's a little bit outside of scope, because they were putting it on a card really quickly. I felt like they were more open to doing that because now they have this access,
It's easy. And for businesses like yours where you don't have a physical store for your consulting work, It's very easy to set up a process whereby you can email invoice your clients, you put in their name, what the purchase of your service is for, $1,000 is for whatever, 5 hours of your time, something like that. You send them the invoice, they enter their own information, which is great. You don't have to handle it. It's more secure that way. And they can open it when you send them or in the middle of the night when they're away from their desk and home and have the time to focus on actually paying a bill.
One thing I wanted to share with you, by the way, that just happened like a month and a half ago. So I wanted to add some features to my DocuSign. And then I got in and realized that even they figured it out as well. So now they're offering, I don't know if you know this, a service where they're allowing you to link your credit cards back end. So in order to complete the contract process, they can actually make you that initial payment right there instead of now having to sign the contract, make a copy, now send you a check.
It's one less thing to make the experience faster and more frictionless. Less friction.
That's my word of the week now, by the way, Jonathan. I'm letting you know I'm using less friction. Make it easy for the clients. You know, onboarding should be easy, you know?
It's supposed to be. You have too much to worry about otherwise. Anything you can do to make one less thing for you to not have to worry about is a great thing. That's fantastic.
All right. So I know that we're coming to that point right now in our show. So as you know, our thought was bringing you in to have a discussion about, like, you know, these are some things that you should be doing. We know the retailers are doing it because it's the world we're in right now. They need to do it. You shared with them how to maximize. And then, of course, on our business to business end as well. Can you recap some of your points from the beginning of our talk today?
Sure. I don't think I'm going to get them in the right sequence, but I would say
that's okay.
I would say, you know, having a POS for businesses that have a physical location is so ideal. It adds so much more value than the true cost of the purchase of it. I almost wonder if businesses are foolish by not having one. And we work with many, many companies that handle POS systems because we want to have the flexibility to offer what we think is the right POS system for the right business. You know, there is a line between getting a good system and overkill, and you really don't need to overkill. You just need to, you know,
what you need.
Hit it.
Yeah.
I would say they are really like having your own personal MBA in a box. In terms of the cost, there are things that can be done to mitigate the cost of taking a credit card, which, again, would not work in certain industries. If a restaurant asked you to cover the credit card processing fee, you'd probably never go back again. I think it would be hard for a waiter to even ask that question. But for other businesses, I think it's a great platform. It saves businesses money, significant amount of money, and most cardholders may not care at all about covering some or all of the expenses. Yeah. I think it's important really to think about the value you're getting by taking a credit card. Yes, it is a cost for doing business, which again can be defrayed or removed altogether, but it also adds a lot of value. The analytics that can be provided to a restaurant, the speed, the ability to reduce theft from employees. It's much harder to steal information than it is just removing $50 from the cash register.
There is a business that I worked with a while back, and sadly they're no longer around. Very big name here in San Francisco, in the Fillmore area. And whenever I'd go in, I swear to you, there would be just monies rolled up everywhere because of this refusal to take credit card. You know, it was like kind of locked in. It was an added cost to doing business that didn't need to happen. Cash was more important. And in my head, I thought the theft rate is probably ridiculously high, and he doesn't know it, you know? And of course, no wonder 2008 rolled around and they got so impacted by that. So it makes sense, right? But the big takeaway from today for me was, you know, there are tools out there to make your payment process, your onboarding of your clients, your monthly payments frictionless. That's like the theme of the day, you know.
I'm glad you gravitated towards that word. I say frictionless a lot. I say seamless a lot. But again, the purpose is it should be both. It should be very easy to implement. It should be very easy to use. And it should also make your business more profitable. And when you're doing those things, it becomes almost too hard to ignore for a business. When you say to them, listen, you're going to spend a little bit more per month, $30, $50 more per month, but odds are you'll earn 5, 6, 7% more because you can do your time is valuable. What can you do with it? You can, instead of your bookkeeper having to spend 2 hours on your books every week, you can just email them the complete report. It'll take you 5 seconds, and then your bookkeeper has all that information. The same thing with your payroll person. How much easier it is. You can just put in everyone's hours, plug it in, send it off to them. Time is important.
Yeah. I love what the POS systems are able to do now. I mean, when I did this, it was that little slider, you know, and then,
Yeah.
you know, that was the old school stuff. But now I walk into retailers and it's almost like this little miniature flat panel sliding down and, you know, able to really assess everything and gather all the analytics. So I really love that. And hopefully folks who do have it are actually using it, because it's like these fantastic phones that we have. It's like a mini computer in your hand that you're walking around with. And so often people don't know all the features. So hopefully folks who have them.
That happens all the time where someone asks a question, I really wish this could do this. And I tell them it can do that. And I mean, usually we've showed them it does that, but it can be overwhelming when if someone gives you a computer and someone tries to show you every feature, you just don't have the bandwidth. So we can usually give someone a half hour to an hour of training, let them wander around knowing that they'll ask some questions, they'll figure some things out. But every once in a while they ask a question like, it can do that, let us show you how, or we can set it up. You don't have to do anything, we'll just do it on our end and check back tomorrow, it's there, what you've asked for is there.
You know, it's, in closing, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show and bring on all of these great referral partners of mine is so often the small to mid-sized business owner, they're doing quite well, by the way. But this mindset that they can't get great services and great vendors around them like yourself is always a little strange to me, you know. So sometimes they don't ask all the questions, you know. Okay, he comes in, he does the packaging, thank you, and he's out, you know, not understanding that you really need to choose the vendors that you're working with really well. You know, one insurance person is going to be different from another. One merchant service person is going to be different than the other. Some are going to ask better questions and understand your business better. So, you know, I love that the way you have modeled your business is based on let's ask these questions and find out how we can solve these things. And it's the reason why I wanted to have you on, Jonathan.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and everyone out there watching.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, definitely. You know, and Jonathan, in closing, how can people find you? I mean, if they want to work with you, they want to know more about the business, what you do, how can they find you?
So they can go to my company's website, which is libertyccs.com. That's short for Liberty Credit Card Solutions. So www.libertyccs.com. They can also
go ahead.
They can also email me at jonathan.katz. That's JONATHAN.katz, KATZ, at libertyccs.com. Or they can call 516 East Coast, 516-365-5282.
I will drop that information in as well so that people can reach out to you. You know, maybe they're using a merchant service that really doesn't make any sense to them. It sounds like Jonathan's your guy. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for being on today. As always, this is Paula Madison Sierra, Power Marketing, for another episode of 10 at 10, where we share business and life information from my referral partners to you. So hopefully you guys are getting some great information from this. Please share this. Please like it. Please tune back in next week next Thursday, every Thursday at 10 a.m. Thank you so much again. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Paula.